Please welcome Chief Marketing Officer and SVP of Growth, Chantal Rapport.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back from the break. I'm Chantal Rapport. I'm our SVP of Growth and Chief Marketing Officer here at Upstart. So Paul talked about our technology and how uniquely differentiated it really is. And Dave talked about the opportunity we have in front of us. But what I want to talk to you about is why we believe we are a category of one business and how we plan to take our technology and have the largest impact possible. But first, let's start with an important fact, which is that credit is incredibly important. Dave talked about it, but I really don't think it can be said enough. We all use credit every single day for small purchases, for big purchases. As a business, we're acutely aware of our cost of capital. A change of even a fraction of a percent, we would understand its impacts. So why is something that is so fundamental, so important to economic mobility, to the American economy, haven't been innovated on in decades? Doesn't make a lot of sense. But a lot of it is because of all the things that Paul just talked about. Lending is extremely difficult to do it well. And to do it in a business that is resilient, that is profitable, it takes focus. It takes relentless focus and effort. And importantly, it takes a business model that was designed to solve for the problem of credit, which is what Dave talked about. That's how we started. We built an entire business model just around the problem of credit that is huge. This is a really big problem that we want to solve. And while I dive into our business model, first I want to talk a little bit about some of the new realities of lending, we'll call them, new trends that we're seeing in the market. The first is that banks are losing market share. This is probably not a surprise to many of you. They've been losing market share in mortgages for decades. But now we're also seeing banks lose market share in new categories of credit. And a lot of the reason is because consumers are shopping for loans, just like they're shopping for any other consumer good. The internet has taught us well. We can go online, we can compare things easily. It's really easy to find the best. And the same thing will happen for lending and loans. No longer are consumers captive to their banks because they can find the best rate, the best process, as Dave talked about. And so we believe that credit, too, will be unbundled from the banks and from the so-called super apps that are trying to just add credit as a feature. It's too important to be a feature. It's not just too important to be a feature, but it's also really hard because to do it well, you need AI. And the other reality is that AI is a commitment. We walked through almost a decade with Paul of everything we've done every year to improve our AI. It's not just a feature you can take off the shelf and plug into your models or your business model like you might an LLM model and insert it into customer service. It just doesn't work like that. It's extremely complicated. And a lot of banks and even fintechs just don't have the time or the focus or the expertise to do it really well. And for our banks, that's honestly probably not their fault because it's a highly regulated industry, which means it's really hard to have really, really great innovation in a space. The last thing is that our capital markets are evolving. The banks are pulling back, as we talked about, becoming increasingly conservative as the macro environment is shifting. But we're seeing this increase in private credit coming into the industry. And so knowing these trends, we believe that our business model has really been built to win because it encompasses our technology. That's what we're here mostly to talk about. It's where we start and end, the core of our business. But it's not the only thing that's important to our business. You also need to have great capital, an intelligent capital marketplace, which we'll talk about. And lastly, you need to have a great brand. You need to win the hearts and minds of consumers again and again and again. So let's dive into each of these things. First, our leading foundation model for lending. Core to who we are, and Paul went into this in great depth. But how does it actually impact our business model? Well, when we normally think about our AI and our technology and how good are we or not at it, we often ask ourselves, what would be the impact of great technology on the business? And we think it would be a few things. The first is pricing power, because differentiated value should lead to differentiated ability to price in certain segments. And we've certainly seen that as our take rates have been elevated over the last few years. The next is what we call positive selection. Now, Paul just presented this chart where we looked at a sample of consumers and just how different our rates are from some of the industry. Now, what happens when Upstart starts to just take some of these best borrowers? Because we can offer the lowest rates, because unlike others, we don't have to average them out. We know who's going to pay us back and who's not. We have great risk separation, about 8 times better than a traditional model. So what happens when we start to pick off these best borrowers? Well, our competitors are left with an unbalanced applicant pool. Over time, default rates may rise, which drives prices up. And the result is this increased difference between us, and our advantage starts to compound, where consumers continue to choose us again and again. Now, the next thing is that AI isn't just our mode, but it's also a constant accelerant for our business. Every win in accuracy, verifications, servicing that Paul talked about isn't just a win for the model, but it also drives business efficiency. It lowers costs, it raises margins, drives conversion, as we've talked about. In fact, for every 1% improvement in accuracy, we see a 13% improvement in conversion, which is an incredible return on our accuracy gains. And lastly, what's it all for? Dave talked about building a radically better product. And that radically better product means best rates, it means best process, and it means a product that is available to everyone, to all Americans. And now this might sound pretty obvious, but it's actually very far from what exists today. Something that has the best rates, that is cheaper, that is easier to access. Because it's really only unlocked by great technology. And that's been our focus to date. And while it's important, it's not the only thing. We are a lending business after all, so let's talk about capital and how we differentiate in our capital section. Most fintechs and lenders have one capital source, single source of capital that is quite limiting. Maybe there's a couple, but often they're really focused on the safest tranches of borrowers. And when market conditions start to shift, they may pull back. And there's no one left in the place. We've seen this time and time again. And what the reality of the market is that we have a diverse set of consumers and we have a diverse set of investors, all with different price sensitivities, different risk appetites. And so it's impossible to serve a market as large as the one that we hope to serve with a model as simple as this. So what we did is we built something and designed for it. We built a marketplace for our capital, a many-to-many marketplace. On one side, we have a diverse set of capital providers, hundreds from banks to asset managers, each with different goals. And on the other side, we have millions of consumers across the credit spectrum. And all of our lenders are effectively competing for the borrower in real time to offer them the best rates while still maintaining control over their programs. And we, as Upstart, sit in the middle, intelligently matching capital in real time. Now, this provides us a few key advantages. The first is that it's scalable. We can serve more borrowers across the spectrum, and that's incredibly important, like we talked about. We have a huge market we want to serve. The second is that it's efficient, because we can optimize our rates dynamically, offering the best rate available to that user in that moment in time. And the third is it's flexible. Because we have so many different capital sources, one steps out, another steps in. We can be resilient and flexible over time. And the free markets in this system help optimize both lender returns and borrower outcomes, which reinforces our value as a marketplace. Now, technology and capital are very important for our lending product, and they'll build a great lending product, but we talked about how consumers shop. So what will ensure that consumers choose us again and again? Well, we talked about those hearts and minds. How do we win them? And we believe that building a great brand doesn't come from just having a great Super Bowl commercial. Awareness is important. We'll also do that as we continue to build our brand. But ultimately, we believe a great brand, a generational brand, comes from having a fundamentally better product. If you think about some of your favorite brands that you're using generation after generation, that's because they did something radically different. And that's what we're building Upstart into, the brand for credit, one that serves all Americans across every credit product that matters, and will change the way that we think about credit in the future. So what makes us stand out to consumers? Well, the first is that we offer something for everyone. We have 4 credit products today, more on the way, and we virtually can serve most of the market, which is very unique, actually, and gives us a large addressable market. Whether you're building credit or you're optimizing it, we can serve you. And as Dave mentioned, we're not just competitive in our non-prime segments, but we also have started to become very competitive in super prime too, which is a really exciting new journey for us. Now, not only does having multiple products give us the ability to reach out to multiple customers and increase that breadth in consumers, but it also allows us to serve our consumers through a lifetime. Because users change over the time. They have different needs. Their needs evolve. And with Upstart, they don't just come to us once. They can come to us for multiple things as their needs change. Every new product that we launch strengthens our relationship with the consumer. Not only does it give us more data, it feeds our models, but it also builds that relationship with the consumer. And we already see that potential for lifetime value in our existing user base, many of which came to us through our flagship product and personal loans. So these are users that haven't even yet been optimized for the world that we're building today now with multiple products. Over 75% of them have a car. 40% of them have homes. And 30% of them have already shown that they're likely to take out a second personal loan. So the path to lifetime value in our user base is extremely clear. And this is really just the beginning. When users come to us, they might come for an availability of a product. They might stay because we have multiple things or for the best rate. But what they really love about us, interestingly, is the process. Dave talked about how this is important. And our AI in verifications has really changed the game for lending. We're not just efficient in our loans, but borrowing with Upstart can feel like magic. It's simple, it's personalized, and it's very, very fast. A few stats. Dave shared this one, but 90% of our personal loans approved automatically. No paperwork. Dave mentioned all those things, no waiting in line. If you've ever done the loan process, you know what we're talking about. And people were so confused when they used to go through our process. They're like, why is this so fast? We actually had to name it because we were getting reviews of saying, did that just happen? Is my money actually coming into my account? I was only there for 5 minutes. I'm confused. We are an online lender. You're putting in all your information online. So we had to tell people, you're on the Upstart fast track. And it turns out 90% of people are on the fast track and do this incredibly quickly. And importantly, we didn't just do it in personal loans, but we're applied it to the rest of our products as well. As far as we know, we have the only instant auto refinance product on the market. This is a product that typically takes weeks to close, involves tons of paperwork. And applying our technology to the process, we've now have the first instant auto refi. And same thing with home lending. Our home lending product is fairly new, but already we are twice as fast as the industry standard. And this doesn't just save consumers a few minutes or even a few days. We're talking weeks in a case of a home lending product. It's radically different already. And the impact of this culminates in our reviews. We have tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. Would encourage you to go read them on Trustpilot because our consumers really are why we do this, the heart and soul of what we're doing. And it leads to not just satisfaction, but advocacy. You can see again and again people talking about how incredibly fast the process was, how low the rates were, and how competitive they were, and how they would recommend Upstart to absolutely anyone, to all their friends and family. And importantly, we're showing the ability to repeat this across credit products. And these reviews, these are just from our product today, or our product of yesterday. But using our technology, our potential is really unlimited. There's so much we can do. We're early in applying all of our impacts of our technology into the consumer experience. You could imagine a future, maybe one not so far away, where credit for Upstart members is always on, always available at the lowest cost of capital. For any loan you need, $50, home loan, doesn't matter. It's always available to you as an Upstart member in your pocket and always priced with precision. Make it as simple as it is to use a credit card. Dave mentioned how credit cards are so accessible to all of us today. We don't see any reason why amazing credit can't be that easy, that accessible in your pocket at all times. So let's take it back to today. This is a very exciting vision, but what are we doing today? I want to show you a tactical, tangible example of a consumer's experience today and how we drive not just revenue and profit, but also consumer loyalty. To do that, we'll talk about the auto refi market. Now, Dave, when we launched Auto Refi, famously internally said this was a $0 billion market. Why did he say that? Auto is obviously a very large market. I didn't see it up there in his $25 trillion slide for market size. But it's because when we launched Auto Refi, we realized very quickly that this is actually a product that no one knows about. No one really understands that they can refi their car, and if they do think it's an option for them, it's only if you're in this very specific situation and it's really hard. We had consumers thinking they had to go to the DMV to refi their car. And so we had to do a ton of education and awareness in our marketing. And honestly, it just wasn't that effective. It wasn't the same margin profile in our marketing that I'm used to. And so we took a step back and we pivoted. We took all of the dollars that we were spending on marketing, we put them into the product, passed the savings on to the consumer, and decided to focus on our existing consumers and users that were right in front of us. The result was much better economics, of course, but also higher volumes, and importantly, a long-term relationship with our consumers. So what does this look like? Here's a real example of a customer. Her name is Fran. Fran came to us one afternoon looking to pay off her credit card debt. So she came to us just before noon, 11:53, and she applied for a personal loan. About 10 minutes later, she had completed her entire loan process. Nothing new or more needed from Fran. Got about $3,000. It was fast, easy, kind of the process that all of our borrowers and applicants come to expect from Upstart. But her journey didn't end there. Because we know Fran. We know her credit profile. We know her information. We also knew that Fran had a car that we could refi and give her a much better rate on. So we offered it to her in a personalized offer. And Fran looks at it and she clicks on it, 12:05. Just 9 minutes later, she's completely refinanced her car, walking away with a better loan term, saving her $420 a year. Which is meaningful to someone who's looking to save just a little bit every month. And she did all of that, from what I can see, in less time it would take to eat lunch, probably on her lunch break. Refied her credit cards, got a better loan. And out of it, we got a very loyal customer. She left us this feedback. She's very grateful to us, and that's very nice. But we have tens of thousands of these, like I've said, on Trustpilot. But the bigger point is that most people actually couldn't do this in the market. They couldn't do something so fast, so seamless, so personalized, because typically, an auto refi loan would take weeks to close and to process. It's high CAC. It's very low margin. It's very hard to scale. But with Fran, we were able to do two things. The first is originate a second loan at 0% CAC. And the second is we deepened our relationship with Fran, ensuring and positioning Upstart as the go-to platform for credit for the rest of her life. And Fran isn't an exception or just one example. She really is our blueprint. We can keep doing this around our emerging products. And in fact, by shifting our model to focusing on product-led growth in our existing users for auto refi, we saw almost 20x growth year over year. So we've seen incredible success in this already and are continuing to apply it to all of our new products. We have the products and the platform to really build lifetime value at scale. So I'll wrap with where we are today. Well, we're a lending platform that is trusted by millions of people already. We have proprietary AI that delivers 8 times better risk separation than a traditional model. We have a flexible capital model with over 100 bank partners. And we have the product breadth and the infrastructure now to unlock efficient growth in new categories. This is where we are today. It's a pretty good business, I would say. But what we're really excited about, and what we actually don't share publicly that often, but we're going to talk about it today, is our vision and where we're going. It's the idea that we're building a place where the best borrowers don't search for credit. They simply have it. Credit that is always on, guaranteed at the best rate, zero friction that Dave mentioned, and all delivered through a single, intelligent, and deeply defensible, importantly, platform. And that's why we often say that Upstart is in this category of one, because yes, we have lots of different competitors, but we actually don't have any competitors that compete with us on all 3 fronts of our business model, that have amazing AI and deep technology and this incredible moat that Paul talked about, that have a productized marketplace for capital that's efficient and resilient, and that's taken all of that and then wrapped this amazing consumer brand around it that millions already trust and millions more to come in a brand that's really scalable for consumers. No one has all three. And so what we're building today is really a platform that's meant to win the market today, but also to redefine the process of consumer credit and the industry at large. So we're really, really excited about this. Happy to answer questions on it. I could talk all day about our vision and where we're going. It's what keeps us, every day motivated to continue to win this business. But I know soon I'm going to stand in between you and lunch. So with that, I will introduce you to Sanjay, our Chief Financial Officer, who will talk about how this model translates into profitability and how we're building more resilience in our capital structure. Thank you.